Welcome to another edition of The Focus, PHNX Sports' newest series. It's a simple concept that harkens back to a more traditional form of journalism, the in-depth one-on-one interview. On this show, I will be joined by executives, managers, coaches, players, and even journalists who've made a significant impact on the Valley and Arizona sports scene. Joining me today is a woman who definitely had a major impact on the Valley, former Sun Devils women's basketball coach and current Mercury scout, Charli Turner Thorne. Charli, it is great to see you. Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, I know we've talked from time to time recently, but we haven't really caught up on everything that's going on in your life, and you've had a lot going on in your life. So I think we had you on right after we launched PHNX. We had you on a show, but a lot has transpired since then. So let's talk about, first of all, your return to women's basketball, coaching with the Mercury as an assistant last season, now as a scout. What prompted all of this?
Well, a lot of people, I knew you'd be back in coaching. I'm like, no. That was prompted by wanting to help Nikki Blue, my former assistant coach, who ended up taking over for the Mercury interim to finish last season. That happened about a month and a half in, and I was calling her, okay, who can we get for you as an assistant? We were going to talk about it, and we threw out a few names, and then within, I don't know how long, she calls me back and she goes, well, Charli, will you do it? And I really wasn't thinking that way. So I really just jumped on for the last 2.5 months to help her, in her first head coaching job. And she was amazing. She did really well. And then it kind of grew into this opportunity with the new management to do some scouting for them, which just goes fabulously with the broadcasting that I'm doing now. So it's really fun.
I want to talk about all that in just a minute, but when you step back into the coach's chair for a moment, did you get the bug again? I know what you're going to tell me already, but people assume that Charli wants back in. This is the path back into coaching.
It's funny. I think a lot of people are like, are you enjoying retirement? Woohoo, and think I'm sitting home eating bonbons. So that's not happening, but I am not actively looking for another coaching job at all. The only way I kind of see myself coaching is what I did this summer, if I really wanted to help somebody.
Yeah.
Don't see myself being a head coach. Been there, done that, 28 years. And I'm enjoying the tempo of my life and learning new skills, doing some new things, being more present for my family. So, but if there was a situation like in the WNBA, I think we have a short season.
Yeah.
It's just shorter. You're not recruiting all the time, something like that. It was fun.
What other things are you doing to keep busy these days?
Yeah, I've got a few gigs going on. So I'm broadcasting with the Pac-12 network. So I kind of go every weekend, rest of the way. And that's really fun. So any other networks that want me to,
right.
After
That'll be coming to a close
I'll
soon.
be a free agent and would love to talk. But and that kind of goes hand in hand with the scouting. This Pac-12 is so tough this year. There's so many good prospects that I'm calling games on and also scouting. I am teaching at ASU.
Nice.
Come downtown here, and I can't this semester because I'm too busy. But co-taught 3 classes last semester.
What are you teaching?
In the College of Health Solutions with Joe Marset, a class on leadership, building culture, coaching principles. Not a big stretch. Right. And then optimal performance with Kristen Hoffner. So 2 kind of veteran faculty. And then I just get to come in and say, okay, let's talk about how this really works. Because they teach the theory a lot. And then I try to bring in some fun experiential stuff. So it was really fun because I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher.
That's what you do as a coach, right?
Right. 100%. So that was really cool. And I have a couple coaching clients. Went under one of my really good friends, business partner, former life coach of our program, Carlette Patterson, under her umbrella, because my business acumen is like that. I don't have any.
It's right there with mine. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I have a couple coaches that I'm going through the season with and just trying to help all things coaching. I get a few speaking engagements here and
wanted to ask you
there.
about that
Yeah,
as well.
I enjoy that. I really do. I've got one coming up in February that I'm excited about. Yeah. And then just kind of, my big coaching tree, I'm always trying to be available, if they need me.
When you do public speaking, first of all, what's the setting? What are the topics? And I don't know, even though, look, listen, we're in front of a camera right now and I've been in media all this time, but that sort of setting I've always found a little intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've done so much. Like as a head coach,
Yeah.
I went around off season to try to sell season tickets, and I would try to get in front of different groups. And then, by the way,
Yeah.
if you'd like to buy, so I have a lot. I've done it a lot, so I'm not as nervous maybe as the most people get.
Yeah.
And I guess I try to stay in my wheelhouse. I'm not out there speaking on business, but usually a lot on championship culture. How to be an elite communicator and how to, peak perform every day. Either for yourself or within your team. Everybody's on some sort of team, right? So those are. But in this new climate that we're in, with all the mental health issues, just mental emotional fitness strategies, self-care. I mean, that's a favorite topic of mine. So. Yeah, I mean, kind of those types of areas are usually.
How do you stay abreast of something like that? Because that's obviously ever evolving, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as a coach, I mean, I was our staff was always very values based. It wasn't just X and O's and teach basketball. I mean, it was that, but it was also growing them as young women into strong, caring leaders, making sure, hey, how are they doing? How's their self-care? How's their mental, emotional, social well-being? So I brought people in over the years, but eventually I just read a lot and I just kind of was, I think kind of created our own program, if you will, with our life coach Carlette and, just other support people around us. Okay. So yeah, I was, learning. We had energy psychologists that worked with our team. So I talk with my hands a lot. So I hope that I don't break your microphone today. Greg Warburton. And so teaching emotional freedom techniques, go ahead and Google that. Awesome. Acupressure with intentional thinking. I mean, I think we really did a lot of things with our program that were pretty ahead of the curve, maybe, if you will. Yeah.
So let's talk about this scouting gig. When I cover the National Hockey League, as you know, and when I think scouting, I think ungodly amounts of travel, crazy hours, no sleep. What is your scouting gig going to look like?
Yeah, the Mercury is so, Nick Uren and the leadership, like, hey, it's part-time. It's kind of, we're figuring it out right now, but because I had other things, the broadcasting, we're kind of double dipping with that, which is good because they're not paying for my travel and stuff like that. But also they understand that I'm not going to be out all the time.
Okay.
So, but now with film and synergy, there is something to be said seeing somebody live. And so I have been going out. My one weekend off broadcasting, I'll be going to see Tennessee LSU. That'll be a good game.
Wow. Okay.
And I've been to Connecticut. They had three games in one day. So, but it's part-time right now. And so it's, getting out some, but watching a lot of games on Synergy, a lot of calls. I think maybe my value is I'm really old. So I know everybody. So I can call Kim Mulkey or, whoever we want to talk to. And, they'll take my call and we'll talk about a player. And I think that they genuinely trust me, and they'll be honest about their player and what they think about them. So I guess that might be a little bit of my value.
When you evaluate players, what is the value of seeing them live versus just watching film?
Well, when you go to a game, you get to see a shoot around practice, right? And then you're getting more than just like a game on film.
Right.
So I do think you can observe a little bit more behaviors off the court and preparing. But also when you're sitting courtside, or I'm not always sitting courtside, but wherever I'm sitting, you definitely can get a gauge of athleticism better in person. There's always a little bit of that lost on film. And there's a few kids right now that we're looking at. It's like, gosh, I really wish I could see them in person, or I haven't seen them yet. It's
interesting. Charli, I don't know how many conversations you and I had about this particular topic, but you fought the good fight for a long time. You battled societal and institutional barriers to bring the women's game into the spotlight. What's your read on the current state of the women's game from youth all the way up to the pros?
Yeah. Well, from a participation standpoint, we used to be number one, and I think we've lost to pickleball now. So, which as an aging person, maybe that's a good thing.
Are you playing pickleball?
A little bit.
You are. See, my wife's trying to get me out there.
It's kind of fun.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie. I haven't been lately because I've been too busy. But so I think from a youth standpoint, though, it's good. It's at an all-time high right now in terms of, I guess I can speak to college and pro. And in the college and pro game right now, attendance is at an all-time high. Viewership is at an all-time high. Resources being committed to these teams, all-time high. So, I mean, have we arrived? No. Has women's sports arrived? No. We have not. There's things institutionally speaking and, decisions being made that aren't always, what you want, maybe not as visionary as some of us would like to see. But right now, I mean, we are at the best spot we've probably ever been in.
Do you feel like you had a hand in that in any way?
Well, I was grinding along. I do think we really helped. I always say we, because it wasn't just me, but a lot of people involved here with the ASU program. And we really did work hard to grow the game. I mean, the first ever outdoor women's basketball game was played at what was then the Bob, right?
Yep.
Chase Field. Brought the Mercury court across the street, played Pat Summitt, the late, great Pat Summitt and her awesome Tennessee team. We also did... ESPN came in and we did the showdown on the res with Kim Mulkey and her team that then won the national championship. I mean, and a lot of things in between and in the community to help our program and grow, introduce our people, but also the bigger events to grow the game. I think we did, help in our way.
What still needs to be done?
Well, that's a great question.
Big picture question.
That's a really big picture question. I mean, I think we need to we need to not sit back and go, we've arrived.
Yeah.
Because attendance is so great. I mean, the Pac-12 network, these conference networks have been phenomenal for women's basketball because we never had, every men's basketball game on TV, right? Every football game on TV. But it's just been recent, in recent years that every women's basketball, at least Power 5, is televised. And now you have a lot of the other conferences being streamed. So I do think all the streaming that's going on right now is great for the growth of all sports and all games because people just have more access to watch that they've never had before.
Is there still any resistance from an institutional level to maybe making more investment, bringing it on par? Listen, I know that money rules the day in every sport. That's just how it works.
We're going to talk about that, right? The big money grab, which
we'll get to that too.
Just sort of has been the beginning and the end of the Pac-12. Sorry, but go ahead, finish.
I'm just curious what steps need to be taken. What steps do you hope are still taken to continue to grow the game, to bring it to what you, I'm sure, consider its rightful place?
Yeah. I mean, I think the most important thing is don't think that we've arrived. Like, it's like anything, you got to keep working, getting better, thinking out of the box. And I think, it's really institution by institution. And then I think, the leadership, who are we putting in leadership positions, whether it's at an institution, whether it's at the NCAA office, whether it's, ESPN, different elements are going to, that's going to impact us. I mean, that's huge. The presidents of universities, the owners of WNBA teams, how are going to really influence how we move forward. Having gotten to be, stick my toe in the WNBA, I mean, it's super exciting right now. I mean, Matt Ishbia, is hugely investing in the Phoenix Mercury, $100 million practice facility. And so, this is great for the league, new team in the Bay Area. But if you're behind the scenes, you still know, okay, there's a lot of franchises that don't have a billionaire owner. What's going to happen with them? There's still a lot of challenges. So we tend to focus on the good stuff. And yet, there's always financial issues And there's always a fight for coverage. And, but I know in this community, I have to brag for a second because the Mercury finished the year, I think, they broke attendance records, all-time attendance records ever. And it's not like we were competing for a championship. Quite the opposite. I think we were competing for Caitlin Clark. I don't think I know. But anyway, Charli Turner Thorne is talking way too much with her hands. So here,
we're very relaxed.
I am throwing stuff all around the set. I'm just keeping you on your toes,
No,
Craig.
that's fine. I want to move to ASU for a little bit.
Okay.
I'm going to read from your resume here, so don't blush.
Been there a long time. We won a few games.
Yeah, you did.
Fast forward.
488, 294, 624 winning percentage. You made 12 NCAA tournament appearances. You made the Sweet 16 5 times, the Elite 8 twice. What are some of your greatest takeaways and memories from such a successful tenure in Tempe?
I am going to just say right off the bat, one of the things that I'm never going to forget is that team that didn't get to play in the NCAA tournament. We had 5 seniors, 4 fourth-year seniors. We had beat the number 2, number 3 teams in the nation. We're a little injured down the stretch, but we knew, when you're going to make a deep run.
Yeah.
We had a grad transfer, had never been to the NCAA tournament. The other 4 had been all 4 years.
Yeah.
But, that was leading into the pandemic, which, I've kind of blacked out.
Yeah.
So that, that's just always, whenever I think about it, I'm just so sad that group, and they're not over it. When I talk to them, they're still just they're not bitter, but they're just so disappointed that they didn't get, the culmination of their careers. What we were just primed to have, that deep, deep run. But, probably one of lots of memories. I mentioned the fun, grow the game events and stuff. I would say we had one season that was the highest and lowest of my career. So in our 2006-2007 season, go to Thanksgiving, where we always go to kind of a fun place, and we were in the Caribbean, and we played our first game, and we won, but we stunk. Because we had this really unique combination of savvy veterans and really kind of overly confident freshmen who were very talented, and we just weren't meshing yet.
Okay.
And they were just kind of like, my seniors are like, and freshmen are. So, we won, but, we missed a lot of layups, whatever. That time of year, you're kind of still coming together.
Sure.
That night was still to this day like one of the hardest things I've ever dealt with personally or professionally. One of our players' her brother, who was 15 years old, died in his sleep. And nothing prepares you for that. It was devastating. We got through it with counseling and, grieving, and that player took time away, eventually came back, wore her brother's number, very inspirational. Team kind of fought through it. We were supposed to play Rutgers the next day for the championship of the tournament. And we just, we fought like first half of Pac-10, I think it was then, I think we were maybe 4 and 5, and just getting through it. And, we kind of looked at ourselves and said, we're going to need to do something special. Let me back up for a second. As we were kind of getting through our grief, what happened was really, really special, because this team was not here. Like, right, all these freshmen and the older players, like, Charli, they didn't like them because they didn't get it yet, and these guys really got it. They were good people, but they just, they were like all about themselves and stuff. And we did an ode to the brother, and ode to Jordan. I'll say his name.
I was going to say, you can say the name.
Yeah, ode to Jordan. And we wrote it up. And once we kind of recovered, it was the most unbelievable thing you have ever seen in your life, the way this team, they didn't care about themselves anymore. All they did was give themselves over to the greater good. And they fought, and they got better, and they got better. We went 9-0 the second half in Pac-10. And, earned ourselves a pretty good seed. And then fast forward, we made it to the Elite 8, our first ever, and played Rutgers. Yeah. I mean, it was, the worst of times, the best of times. It was the biggest of highs and lows. And I love to tell the story because I just want people to know like the power of team and the power of giving yourself over to the greater good. There is no flipping way. I mean, I would bet everything I own we would ever have gotten to an Elite Eight that year had we not played for Jordan. So, I mean, that's, one thing that always is in my heart, that sticks with me. And lots of fun memories and great times. And, I think one of the biggest takeaways is just how amazing all of our players are doing right now. Like, I mean, if I kind of just went down, own law firm, just incredible success. I mean, that really, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And you had a hand in that. It's got to be gratifying. It's got to be incredibly
Well, I have a relationship with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we did. I think we really helped them continue to build their foundation. And we worked them so hard that they knew when they left, there wasn't anything they couldn't do. And I'm not joking, really. I mean, there was a part of that to the experience.
I want to talk about your sabbatical and then your final departure. Maybe you could just take me through the mindset for both of those moments, the seminal moments in your career.
So something that I'm, not proud of, but it's just what it is. I mean, I just kind of overworked a lot. I just didn't know I only knew how to do things one way, like all in, all out, all the time. And as much as I preach rest and recovery, and I got better and better and better at that with our players and, everybody, I was not good at it myself. After the first 15 years at ASU, I mean, I had all three kids during the season, so I never took a maternity leave. I think that caught up with me, to be honest. And then 2 stints with USA Basketball. So in that 1 month where you normally have like a little bit of a vacation,
right?
You're in Serbia or you're in Russia and you're not coming home if you don't get a gold medal, if you're women's basketball. So, I mean, I think it just all kind of caught up with me. It's kind of on fumes. Michael Crow, Lisa Love, so amazing to allow me to step away for 8 months. I know you had Murph on the show. Yeah. Murph and I, we had a great little coffee talks almost weekly. Just learned a ton from each other. I learned a ton from him, shared a lot. That was a really cool time. And then, I think I kind of got the reset button, and came back and probably lasted all my great strategies to not, fall into the rabbit hole. Probably lasted maybe a year and a half. And then I was back to my old ways. So I don't know. I made it about 10 more years. And
I don't listen, the coaching profession is what it is. I'm not sure you can escape that for any length of time. It's just so demanding, right?
It really is. It's very demanding. I was a bit obsessive. Like I had to watch practice. If we had a 2-hour practice, I couldn't not watch it. I couldn't not go back because I knew I missed things. Yeah. And make sure that I was making the best decisions for players and playing time and just, knowing my team. I had a great staff that scouted, but I could not scout every team. Like just the amount of time with film. You have recruit calls every night. That's a nice thing about the pros.
Don't have to do that,
Yeah. So, it is. And college basketball is year round. Players go home for a little bit, but then they come right back. And you're right, you get up to 8 weeks of training and it's just, and the relationships are all the time. And I think that's maybe where some of us differ. I think when you got a really great values-based staff and you're really about the relationships and growing them beyond basketball, you're constantly with them. You're constantly helping them through whatever the challenges are. And I wouldn't have done it any other way. I loved it, but I think it probably took a little more out of me.
Yeah.
Maybe, than that, more sometimes like transactional kind of, I'm your coach, I'm going to coach you. Okay, see you tomorrow at practice approach, which is, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's
it's
not
just
who you are.
Not who I was. Yeah.
That makes sense. The other side of this that we need to get into is how much the landscape has changed. There are more challenges than there maybe were when you started in the profession.
Yeah, good. I mean, good and bad. I think it wasn't as big a business when I started at all. Yeah. So not as many resources. not as much pressure, not as visible. So, I think, I don't know, Craig, you want to get into like transfer portal, NIL, and all that?
Curious for your thoughts on that. For a very active transfer portal, NILs.
So, my perspective on, first of all, the transfer portal is I'm fine with the transfer portal because a lot of people don't know, but football, men's and women's basketball were the only sports in the NCAA that you didn't have a one-time transfer exception. So all the other sports were already able to do it. So there's only 3 sports where you had to sit a year. Okay. And what had been happening these last 5-10 years in college athletics, especially in basketball, is that, coaches were, they were kicking kids to the curb more than ever. And because it used to be the rule, you couldn't do that. You couldn't cut a kid because of athletics, but it was happening. It was happening more and more and more. And because of that, I'm like, if coaches are going to be allowed to do that, then the kids should be allowed to not have to sit somewhere and go. And so I think because the culture of basketball, men's had been that way for a while, but and it's been coming into the women's game for a while. I think, okay, well then no one should have to sit. And the transfer portal kind of organizes things, and it just, it is what it is. Now, NIL, I actually didn't disagree with the idea of it. Mm-hmm. And again, if we want to talk about all sports, there's not that many head count sports in NCAA. In other words, athletes that get full scholarships. Yeah. baseball, soccer, softball, swimming and diving, track and field. Most of the sports are equivalency. Most of those athletes don't even get a full scholarship. Yeah. If you're an Olympic caliber or you're a first round draft pick, you are probably on a full scholarship. But other than that, you're probably not. So to be able to make, some money out of your name, image, and likeness and get, do some ads or some, appearances and stuff, or, sell your autograph, I was okay with that. That's not what happened. Yeah. What happened was, now it's a pro model. We're paying athletes to come play for us. And Charlie Baker even he's thrown out in December. Did you see that? What he said? Yeah. It's like, okay, well, we're just going to let the institutions go ahead and decide what, that they can pay their athletes. And, it's still got to get voted on. I think it actually got voted on when they had the meetings here in January. I didn't hear what happened, but I don't like the precedent. I don't like what we're teaching these young men and women to give them money that they haven't earned yet. It's totally different when you're giving them an education. Yeah. And you're supporting, their growth. But when you're just giving them a big old paycheck, a bonus before you've done anything, and they're 17, 18, 19 years old, I just don't know what we're teaching them, how we're preparing them for the real world. In my world, I don't know. We always reap what we sow. That's kind of my thing. Like, you work hard and you get, what you've earned. So I'm just very concerned. The bigger concern really is it's not sustainable. It's a big myth. People think there's all this money. I listen to all these talking heads. Sorry, didn't mean to offend you guys, but not you, but ESPN, these guys, or even like a John Oliver, who's hilarious, and he wants to make a little bit on the NCAA, and college athletes. He doesn't have a clue, how much these athletes get, in terms of, an MRI cost. They get their braces, they get vision care, they get all of these resources. And now, you have the Alston money, that's $6,000 extra, all, and we just continue to add to it, which I was okay with until maybe kind of now, where we're giving them money, and now they are also saying that athletic departments can help them manage it, which I think is really smart.
It's critical, in my opinion.
Yeah. And we talked about that the other day. I think, that's going to be important. But and what's going to happen when an athlete's promised $1 million and they come in and they get hurt and they can't play at all, ever, or they just stink. They didn't develop. They weren't who you thought they were going to be. Like, there's a lot that's going to get played out.
What does it do to a team culture?
Yeah. Great question. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for coaches. The transfer portal makes that challenging too, because, I've got 6 new players this year and they've all come from different programs and have different
Yeah.
senses of things. But I think, I think that, one player's getting 50,000, one player's getting nothing, one player's getting $1 million. I can't imagine that's not going to impact, how players feel and think, especially depending on like that $1 million athlete might not even be performing because they're giving it to them before.
Yeah.
Often. Now, I do want to highlight that non-Power 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mid-majors, a lot of the mid-majors, low D1, D2, NAI. My son plays at NAI. It's still play because you love it. There's scholarships and stuff involved, but it's just those things are not impacting. NIL's not really impacting probably the majority of teams in college athletics. It's really that elite level that is going to have to navigate it all.
Yeah.
And I had some point in there early on, but I just tangented. I was all over the place. So
That's all right.
Something I started to say and didn't say.
Next appearance, we can talk about it. Maybe we'll have some perspective on where this is all gone by then.
Maybe.
I wanted to talk about your family because that was a big piece of stepping away the first time, the second time. And I know you're juggling some things still, but how's Will, Connor, Liam, Quinn?
Thank you. Yeah, they're good. They're good. And my parents are, kind of easing into those mid-80s, and my dad's been through a lot, broken hip, pneumonia, different things. So I'm kind of the one that's can help and support now. So it's nice to be that. I've never been the one, right? I've never been able to be there for them and check on them. And the young adult years, which is my children, are probably some of the most challenging, especially in this day and age. I'm sure parents at home will agree. It's a tough, they're all worried about, am I ever going to be able to afford a house? The dating landscape, all these things are just, they're not like they used to be. It's definitely very concerning and challenging. And so it's nice to be able to be supportive. And I'll get to go to, Quinn's actually, he's at Ottawa University in Surprise, Arizona. So I'll give Ottawa a shout out. Yay! Great coaching staff. Coach Keeley and the guys they went to the Final Four last year, and they're in first place in their conference right now. So, and it is truly basketball at its just purest because
that's great.
They got no money and no resources. Quinn's redshirting this year. Got his first real injury, fractured his back, but it's
okay.
Yeah, we hope. We're still not out of the woods for surgery, so we'll see. But nice to be able to support him locally.
Well, I think anyone who's followed Sun Devil athletics knows, for any length of time, knows your impact, your place as one of the most successful coaches in this school's history. But before we go, I want to ask about the impact of your induction into the ASU Sports Hall of Fame and the opportunity to share that spotlight with Brianne January back in October 2022.
Yeah, that was really unexpected that they would just put me in right away. And I don't know if they did it. I think maybe they did it because Bree was going in at the same time, which was wonderful. Yeah. Because Bree, not only did we have 4 of our most successful years ever with her leading the team, with a lot of other great players as well, but she coached with us for 3 years. Yeah. Yeah. And she's just such an amazing human being. That class. Yeah. Terrell Suggs, Anthony Robles.
The names on it were unreal.
Ryan Whiting, Caitlin Andrews, Annika. I'm forgetting. Oh, Jessica. It was Don Bakke. Yeah. It was so star-studded.
Biggest fan, Don Bakke. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is, take me out of it. That's the best class ever. So that was really fun, but it made it unbelievably special. Cause you go in, okay, but Bree was there and I just got to be there with Bree. And anytime you're a coach, it's not you, it's your players. It's all the people that went on the journey with you that are going into the Hall of Fame. Yeah. It's not like I was Terrell or Bree or anything like, oh, you're the GOAT, you're a star, I'm just the coach. So, but
you're going to go into another Hall of Fame in April. Arizona Sports Hall of Fame, the induction 2023 class. And I believe it's April 13th. Is that the date that the ceremony is? Well, I might actually, depending on your speech. So I want to hear about your speech. How hard is that, by the way, to craft a Hall of Fame speech for those of us who will
Great.
Never experienced.
I have to give a speech.
Do you not know this? Are you not going to speak? Okay, sorry to
Just
break
kidding.
that news
Yeah,
to you,
no,
but
just
like,
kidding.
is that intimidating? I mean, I know you just said you're a public speaker. You've done this before, but you're talking about yourself now and the people around you.
Oh, I will
and
not be talking about myself.
All
So
right.
it will
There we
actually be
go.
easy just to show a ton of gratitude.
Yeah.
You know, maybe hopefully a teeny bit of humor and wisdom, but mainly all gratitude. And I will absolutely not be talking about myself. So, you know, what's interesting is I will never be that guy that just rambles on. You know, I was there last year, and my good friend Karen Self and Jennifer
I love
Gillum are
Karen,
being
yeah,
inducted.
yeah.
I know. And, you know, there's always a few, you know, and it is fine, you know, it's their moment.
Sure.
But like, I can assure you that I will, if whatever the time limit
you won't need
I will
this.
come in under that time limit for sure.
All right.
My husband actually came up with a great walk-up song though. So
You don't want to share that now.
no,
We're going to have to wait and see.
you're gonna have to wait and see.
Okay. All right.
Or you have to have me on again.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll
Okay.
definitely have you on again. But Charli, I just want to thank you. It's always great catching up with you. Always great to get your insights. Thank you for joining us on another edition of The Focus.
Good to see you, Greg. Thank you.
We all silly like the mayor.